friends. So, we're back. Do not mind the gigantic mess of stuff behind me. Yahtzee. I guess the ice maker lives there because I've graduated into that level of adulthood that we've decided we require an ice maker. But I'm not mad about it because having ice on hand is pretty awesome, especially coming into the summer. But anywho, I changed which direction I'm filming in a little bit, keep it fresh. There's not a lot of choices in a 226 square foot travel trailer, but I thought maybe the light from the window would be nice. It's also hard to get lighting correct in a trailer. If you've ever filmed in a trailer, you might know. Not to mention the way that our trailer is designed, it's actually doors on that side and all the windows are on this side. So there is definitely more darkness coming from that side of the trailer, but so I'm usually side lit in my videos, but whatever. It is what it is. Maybe one day I'll invest in something for like a ring light. I don't know what YouTubers use. I'm a newbie here. If any YouTubers have some answers, put that in the comments. Alright, anyways, so I watch a lot of, this is gonna sound funny, I watch a lot of podcasts. So nowadays people aren't just doing audio style podcasts. If you're a podcast person, you know that there's a lot of people that also film themselves while doing their podcast, so then they can, put it out on something like YouTube. So I watch a lot of podcasts, and I was watching one that actually wasn't put out by Eamon and Beck, who I've mentioned before, but it was actually sort of them being interviewed, and I can't even remember what the premise was, but they had heard somewhere, and then they sort of adopted this into their life, and it's maybe going to be tough love sounding. If you're in a dark place or in a low place, it might not sound very good to you, but I'll explain. So the one thing they said is that happiness is a choice. And while I think that most people think, oh yeah, I do these things because they make me happy, I feel like that's the general sort of idea. But when they elaborated, it made so much sense. And I believe, life is 50-50. You have to have things that are really, really high and things that are really, really low, and then everything in between, because that's life. If everything was all hunky-dory all the time, would life hold the same sort of feeling? Probably not. So I do believe life is 50-50, and so I don't mean this to sound like toxically positive, because that's also not good either. I don't want to live my life completely negative, but I also don't want to live it in this like insane positivity. I do believe in seeing a silver lining or trying to find a positive in tough situations, because sometimes having that little positive thing gives you like a glimmer of hope to make it through whatever you're going through. But happiness is a choice. So it's sort of like finding a silver lining, but it's almost like you can go through your life every day, and emotions, ebb and flow as a human, and something can happen that you might immediately have negative thoughts about. And in that moment, you kind of have a choice. You can either choose that existing and taking action from that negative space is going to work for you, or you can choose happiness. You can choose to try to exist and take action from a place of happiness. So maybe that doesn't sound as radical as I thought, but it really kind of resonated, because just as I have a choice to sit in negativity or dwell on something that doesn't feel good, I have just as much of a choice and a chance to choose to find happiness in it. So, it's not always got a place, because obviously if, say someone passed away in your family, that's not going to feel probably very good. And sure, you can say, I'm happy they're at peace, but there's grief, and you have to go through grief. But in a majority of things that you deal with in day-to-day life, the old don't cry over spilled milk, which I have done in my life. Literally, sometimes you have hard days. That was also a few years ago, before my brain functioned the way it functions now. But, don't cry over spilled milk. And I think that that's sort of a very old school way of saying that, like, it's not that bad, or there's worse things. And in that sort of, if you take it literally, if you spill milk, as a majority, if you're on YouTube, I hope that you're not in a poverty sort of situation. I live in Canada, and I'm grateful that if I spill a little milk, it'll be okay. And I think, like, my immediate mindset in that is like, man, it's worse, because there are things like poverty. But if I stay in my little bubble and I think about it, I'm like, there are worse things that could have happened in that situation. I could have broken the glass and stepped on the glass that the milk was in, and then I would have been injured and had to go to the hospital, and that would have been significantly worse. And while it's survivable and I'll heal, it could have been worse. But it also, in that moment, I could choose to cry over the spilled milk, or I can be like, oh man, that kind of sucked, but not let it affect the rest of my day. And I think maybe that's sort of like what they meant by happiness as a choice, because there's little things that are going to happen throughout your day, and if you choose to let them bog you down, they will, and you'll have a net negative day. And some days are just gonna be kind of trashy days. It is what it is. But if you choose to, like, change the way your mind works, change your mind space, oh, that was sucky, but in the grand scheme of things, I can move on, and it's not really going to affect much else. And I think that might be a positive way to actually look at a majority of things. Because, yes, I said life is 50-50, but in reality, I want to feel more positivity, and I want to feel more happiness and more joy. And it is a choice to do so. There's a million things that we take in every day. And so if I choose, it is my choice to, and actually this is kind of funny, I walk with my spouse at the golf course sometimes. It's a trek. It's like 10 kilometers, which I think is like near 6 miles if you're, in miles. But I take an insane amount of pictures of flowers. Or like when the dandelions first pop up every year, I'm so excited. But it's a choice, because I could just walk past these things and go on with my day and be like, oh, that was pretty, or not even actually think about them. Uh-oh. They're mowing the lawn outside. Again, this is one take YouTube videos, my friends, so I apologize if you can hear the mower. But, anywho, so it is a choice for me to take those pictures and to stop and look at those brand new dandelions, because it makes me feel good. It also makes me just take a moment to exist, to enjoy nature, and pardon me, to realize that like there's life all around. And that's also another thing, like you can get caught in your bubble, you know, pretty freaking easily. So having those little moments, it's like finding joy and peace all at the same time. And I know when I was working full-time, oh, here comes the mower. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry if you can hear it, and if you can't, then I'm sure this is ridiculous. But I know when I was working like 40 plus hours a week, and I was literally just trying to survive every day and get to my days off, and then I was just so bloody tired. But over the past few years, as I've started to realize like the importance of finding pockets of happy, or finding pockets of joy, the mower is just gonna be back and forth. I'll try to finish this one up quick so that we don't have to endure the mower much longer. But anywho, so finding those tiny moments was actually the thing that sort of kept me going. And now, you know, 3 years later, and like a massive change in how I exist in life, those moments are like compounding, so that I have a majority of the time this, instead of a net negative life, I have a very net positive life. And there's always going to be negative things, there's always going to be things that your brain wants to dwell on, but at the end of the day, like my goal in life is not to not have those moments of negativity or those moments of hard times, because they're going to happen, but it's to be able to recover and find those pockets of happiness and joy. So happiness is a choice, and it's just as easy as deciding that you want to choose happiness. Okay, before the mower comes back, for the I don't know how many times, I can literally see her coming on the mower. I want to say that I'm grateful if you made it this far in. I'm really excited that there's some summer weather coming our way, because it has been raining for like a week nonstop. We had like 2 hours of sun the other day and I was outside. But I started a Patreon, which is exciting and nerve-wracking, because I also have a free blog, so if you want to dig into brain stuff, I write my blog every Sunday. And then I'm here on YouTube, on Instagram, and I'm trying to like integrate it all together. That's something that maybe I just didn't do my research, but I'm learning to integrate it all together. But I said to heck with it, I'm gonna just start a Patreon, and I'm gonna just keep on doing YouTube, and I'm gonna do, hi kitty, whatever the heck makes me happy, and I'm just gonna give it a go because I can. Oh, here comes the mower. I'll see you on the next one.